How's it going, everybody? It's your boy Graveyard, and today, in the spirit of opening day, I wanted to start a new series where I go through all 30 MLB teams, all-time 26-man roster. Some of them are going to be different than others. Some of them are going to have more pitchers. Some of them might have more hitters. But we're going to go ahead and start it off today with my favorite team, the Colorado Rockies. And so how I figured all of this out is I went through, picked out some of my favorite players, but I also looked at the numbers. And that's how it's going to be for all 30 teams in Major League Baseball. And I might have a few extras later on. Who knows? Now let's go ahead and get this started. I had to figure out who's going to manage this team. And some Rockies fans are going to say Bud Black, all-time leader in wins, took us to 2 straight playoff appearances, the only time that has happened in Rockies history. Some are going to say Don Baylor, which I will never say anything bad or against Don Baylor. He was the first manager in team history. You'll never get me to say a bad word, but to me, it was pretty clear on who it's going to be. It's obviously going to be Clint Hurdle. He spent 8 seasons with the Rockies, taking over as the interim manager in 2002, all the way up until he was fired mid-season in 2009. But during that time, he had accumulated a 534 and 625 record. Yeah, it's under 500, but he did take this team to its only World Series appearance in 2007. Which, I'm still biased, but that's probably one of the greatest runs to the pennant in baseball history, going 21 of 22 to not only get into the playoffs, but also sweeping your way through the Phillies and the Diamondbacks to get to the World Series. That's quite incredible, including that electric Game 163 against the Padres. P.S. Matt Holliday did, in fact, touch home. Anyway, moving on to the fielding alignment. This is how it's going to be looking for the Colorado Rockies. We'll start in left field with Carlos Gonzalez. In center, we got Charlie Blackmon. In right, we got Larry Walker. At first base, Todd Helton. Second base, DJ LeMahieu. Shortstop, you got Troy Tulowitzki. Third base, you have Nolan Arenado. And playing catcher, you got Chris Iannetta. Now, I put Dante Bichette over by Chris Iannetta because he will be your DH. And the guys coming off the bench will be Vinny Castilla, Andres Galarraga, Matt Holliday, and your Vit Torrealba. Now, the batting order might be a little different. Leading off will be Charlie Blackmon. Hitting second is going to be Troy Tulowitzki. Hitting third, Larry Walker. Fourth is going to be Todd Helton. Hitting fifth will be Dante Bichette. Sixth will be Carlos Gonzalez. Seventh will be Nolan Arenado. Eighth, Chris Iannetta. And ninth will be DJ LeMahieu. And as you guys can see, Holliday, Castilla, Galarraga, and Torrealba all coming off the bench. Now, the lineup was the easy part, to be honest. You have Helton and Walker, 2 Hall of Famers right there in the middle of your order. You got Dante Bichette, who everybody knows got pop. That's why I got him at DH. He wasn't the best fielder in the world. You got 2 of the best fielders on the left side of the infield in Tulowitzki and Nolan Arenado, maybe the greatest fielding third baseman in the history of baseball, and Nolan, and maybe the biggest what if he didn't get hurt all the time in Troy Tulowitzki at short. Then you got Charlie Blackmon, possibly one of the best leadoff hitters in the 2010s, maybe even ever, if I'm being biased. Then you also have Carlos Gonzalez, who, in my opinion, has the sweetest swing in the 2010s. The sweetest swing. Don't forget about Helton's ability at first base. DJ's great at fielding at second base. I love this field. I love the infield, love the outfield, and I love the lineup. That's the easy part of this. Now, pitching is, though, the problem. It was very hard to where I had to go and pick out the pitchers that I love to watch, even if they weren't the best. You know what I mean? I had to go with the guys that were great at Coors Field and put together a bullpen that was decent. And I feel like I did that. Now, the rotation was the easy part of the pitching staff. I'm going to go ahead and start this off with Ubaldo Jimenez, throwing the only no-hitter in Rockies history, best chance of winning a Cy Young by any Rockies pitcher, by far the greatest pitcher in Rockies history. I don't think it's even close. He's my number one starter. He's our ace. Now, number two is Jorge De La Rosa, and I loved watching Jorge pitch. Personal bias, when he retired, he was the all-time Rockies leader in wins, so that's why he gets the number two spot. Aaron Cook is the number three. He was my favorite pitcher, truly my favorite pitcher to watch. He's the reason why I wanted to learn to throw a sinker. He got a lot of ground balls, and he would eat innings even if he wasn't pitching at his best. Number four, Jeff Francis, who was the ace of that 2007 staff, and the best pitcher that the Rockies have had over the last 5 years. Obviously, German Marquez is getting the ball as the fifth spot. And with the bullpen, because of how much they're going to get burned, I'd put 8 guys out there in the bullpen. We're going to go ahead and start off with the long relief spot, and we're going to have it be another starter in Kyle Freeland, who's also one of the best pitchers in Rockies history. So obviously, we're going to put a 6th starter in there, so that way, God forbid, if we need a spot start, he can get it done. Then we're going to move on to Darren Holmes, and then there's Steve Reed, who, last I checked, has the most relief appearances in Rockies history. So that's a big one for us. Then I'm going to move on to Matt Belisle, who I personally just like to watch pitch. He didn't do he wasn't his best, but I loved watching him pitch. Then, more or less in a spot role, it's going to be Houston Street, then Bruce Ruffin, Adam Ottavino, and the greatest closer of Rockies history, Brian Fuentes. Now, with this team, I would probably still have more pitching, as you guys would see, over the hitting, because with Vinny Castillo, you can substitute him at short and third. Galarraga, you can play him at first. You can maybe throw Tulo to play second on some days if you really wanted to. I wouldn't recommend it, but if you really needed to, you could. Holiday can play other spots in the outfield. You can move Carlos Gonzalez to center field to give Blackman a day off. If you really need to, you can put Bichette out there in the outfield, and any one of those 4 guys off the bench can play DH because they all got pop. So I'm not worried about that. With this team, you need more guys to come out of the bullpen, and maybe a guy like Kyle Freeland, obviously, like you guys saw, as a spot starter. But this is what I would say the all-time Rockies team is, and I would like to thank you guys so much again for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please hit the like and the subscribe button. It is greatly appreciated. Please drop some comments down below. Tell me your opinions on what you guys think of this team, and moving forward with any of the other teams that I'm going to cover. I want to thank you guys so much again, and I hope you guys all have a good one. Peace out.